The wedding invitation felt like a slap, gilt-edged, ridiculously formal, a summons to a life I'd escaped. Cordially invites you to celebrate the marriage of Chelsea, my cousin, the one who hadn't actively scorned me. But still, it had been 10 years. 10 years since they'd uttered those words. Since that day, I'd built a fortress of success around myself, brick by painful brick. Now, here it was, a gleaming, gilded threat. In order to return, to confront the wreckage I'd left behind, and the architects who designed it, I stared at the name printed in elegant script, Eleanor Hayes, my birth name, the one they'd wanted me to shed. They told me so every damn day of my life. The name I'd fought to replace with June Spencer, the name I'd earned, my grandmother's name, the only person in that viper's nest who had believed in me. The phone buzzed, ripping me from the spiral. Chelsea. I braced myself. June! Oh my God, did you get it? Are you coming? Please tell me you're coming. Her voice was a whirlwind of anxious joy. I sighed, tracing the embossed floral pattern on the invitation with my finger. Yeah, got it. Still. Digesting, it wouldn't be the same without you. Seriously? Francisco's family has known you for years, and they think you're amazing, and you know I need you. My mom is driving me insane. A small smile tugged at my lips. Chelsea, bless her, always had the ability to cut through the bullshit. My company, Zenith Tech, had just finalized a multi-million-dollar deal, and the business magazines were beginning to sing my praises. I had been the first female CEO in that sector. That's sweet, I said. But you know how they are. They ask about you, you know? My mom, she keeps those articles. You know, from Forbes and stuff. Aunt Eleanor saves them all. My throat tightened. Funny way of showing it. 10 years of radio silence. And they're collecting newspaper clippings now? Chelsea's voice softened. They're just proud. You're a success. They're not happy how things went, so maybe this will allow them to say sorry. The lie hung in the air, a fragile, desperate hope. Did Chelsea really believe it? Or was she just trying to make it easier for both of us? There's something else, she continued, her voice barely a whisper. They want to talk to you. At the wedding. My mom, especially. She asked if you'd be there. The familiar anger, a simmering, poisonous thing, began to churn in my stomach. After all this time, they wanted something. I pushed it down, forcing myself to be rational. Did she say what about? No. But, June, things change. People change. I looked around my office. The sleek, modern space that was mine. A testament to what I had accomplished. Alone. Listen, Chelsea. I need to think about this. It's a lot. Please say yes. The wedding's in 3 weeks. The door to my office opened and Rhett, my coup and closest confidant, strolled in, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. He raised an eyebrow at my expression. I'll call you back, I told Chelsea. I will. Promise. I hung up before she could protest. Wedding drama? Rhett placed a mug on my desk, the aroma filling the air. Worse. My parents want to talk. He sank into the visitor's chair, leaning forward. The same parents who told you that investing in your education was a waste of time because you'd just end up someone's wife? Those parents? The very same. I took a scalding sip of coffee, welcoming the burn. Chelsea says they've changed. I might finally be the daughter they wanted, Rhett scoffed. People don't change that much, June. They just get better at hiding who they are. He paused. Unless they need something. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. A text message from Lisa, my childhood best friend, the only person who had supported me in this whole ordeal. Just heard you might come back for the wedding. Your mom was at the grocery store, telling everyone how proud she is of her successful daughter. Something's up. I showed Rhett the message. He let out a low whistle. Suddenly proud? Right when your company is making headlines? Exactly. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the city skyline. a sprawling tapestry of ambition and dreams realized. My dreams. You know what the worst part is? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. A tiny piece of me still wants their approval. Pathetic, right? Human, Rhett corrected. But don't let it cloud your judgment. You built all this. He gestured around the office, without them. While they were busy wishing for a son, you were becoming someone their imaginary heir could never match. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Chelsea. There's something else you should know. It's important. Can we talk? I showed Rhett the message. Go to the wedding, he said firmly. Whatever they want, whatever game they're playing, face it head on. You're not that scared teenager anymore. Remember what they did, but keep the long game in mind. And remember your plan for the future. I picked up the invitation again, running my fingers over the name June Spencer. Not June Hayes. I'd changed my name the day I left, choosing my grandmother's maiden name. The only person in my family who had believed in me. You're right, I told Rhett, steel hardening my voice. I'll go, but not for them. I pulled out my phone and texted Chelsea. I'm in, but first, tell me everything. A response came almost immediately. Not over text. Can I come by your office tomorrow? There's a lot you need to know before you face them. I looked at Rhett, who was watching me with a mixture of concern and grim amusement. Whatever they're planning, I said, a cold smile spreading across my face. They're about to learn that the daughter they didn't want grew up to be exactly who she needed to be. And I'm not the pushover she was before. That's my girl. Rhett grinned. Now, shall we review that financial report? Something tells me you're going to want those numbers fresh in your mind. I nodded, already wondering what Chelsea needed to tell me, and why my parents had suddenly decided their daughter was worth acknowledging. Whatever it was, I had a feeling this wedding was going to be about much more than just saying I do. Chelsea's revelation hit me like a physical blow. It was one thing to suspect my parents' sudden interest in me was self-serving. It was another to hear the cold, stark truth. They're losing everything, June. The family business, the house, all of it. Dad says Uncle Norman made some bad investments, and now they're desperate. We sat in my office, the city lights twinkling behind us like a distorted reflection of my own success. Chelsea clutched her coffee cup, her engagement ring catching the light. So, that's why they suddenly remember they have a daughter, I thought. The pieces falling into place. How much do they need? At least $500,000 to stay afloat. Chelsea wouldn't meet my eyes. Aunt Eleanor has been telling everyone how successful you are, how proud they are of their brilliant daughter. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. 10 years of silence, and now they're proud because they need money? I know it's awful, Chelsea said, reaching across the desk to squeeze my hand. I just thought you should know before the wedding. They're planning to approach you. There. At your wedding, they'd really do that? They think you won't make a scene. Public image and all that. She rolled her eyes. You know how they are. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Just drove past your old house. For sale sign is up. You okay? Does everyone know except me? I muttered. I showed Chelsea the message. Small town, remember? But listen, there's more. Francisco and I overheard them at the rehearsal dinner last night. They're telling people you offered to help, that you're coming home to save the family business. The anger I'd suppressed for years threatened to boil over. They're already spending my money, June, Chelsea hesitated. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, Rhett burst into the office. You need to see this. He turned his tablet toward us, showing a local news website. There was my father, standing in front of his failing business, quoted in an article about family enterprises facing challenges. We're fortunate that our daughter has agreed to step in, I read aloud, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Family always comes together in times of need. My hand shook. They're painting themselves as proud parents whose successful daughter is rushing home to help, Rhett said grimly. They're trying to back you into a corner. That's not all. He scrolled down. They're hosting a welcome home dinner for you. The night before the wedding, already announced it in the society pages, Chelsea looked mortified. June, I'm so sorry. If I'd known they'd go this far, it's not your fault. I stood up, pacing the office. They're still playing the same games, just with higher stakes. What's your plan? Rhett asked, knowing that look in my eye. I stopped pacing. I'm going to that dinner. And to the wedding. But not as the dutiful daughter they're expecting. June, Chelsea warned, her voice laced with concern. Whatever you're thinking, don't worry, I assured her. I won't ruin your wedding. But I'm done letting them control the narrative. They want to use me for money? Fine. Let's see how they handle it when I use their precious public image against them. My phone rang. My mother's number. After 10 years, she was finally calling. Put it on speaker, Rhett suggested. I answered. Hello, Mother. June, darling. Her voice was syrupy sweet. We're so excited about the dinner. Everyone's talking about it. Your father and I have missed you terribly. Have you? I kept my voice neutral even. That's funny because I don't remember hearing from you for the past decade. A pause. The past is the past, dear. We're just so proud of what you've accomplished. A mother always knows her child's potential. I caught Rhett's eye. He was shaking his head in disbelief. Does she? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. I seem to remember you having very different opinions about my potential. June, her voice hardened slightly. That's all water under the bridge. We have so much to discuss when you're home. Such exciting opportunities for the family. I'm sure we do, I said, a cold smile spreading across my face, even though she couldn't see it. I'm looking forward to it. After hanging up, I turned to Chelsea and Rhett. They want to play happy families? Perfect. I'll give them exactly what they want, right up until I don't. June, Chelsea looked worried. What are you planning? Something that'll make them wish they'd never remembered they had a daughter. I picked up the wedding invitation. But first, I need to make a few calls. If they want to talk about money, let's talk about money. Rhett grinned, a predatory glint in his eyes. Need any help? Actually, yes. I turned to Chelsea. I'm still your maid of honor, and I promise your wedding won't be collateral damage. But afterward, they're going to learn that the daughter they dismissed isn't just successful. She's learned how to play their game better than they ever could. As Chelsea left, Rhett stayed behind. You sure about this? They taught me one valuable lesson, I said, pulling up my company's financial records. Image is everything. It's time they learned how that lesson can backfire. The welcome home dinner was a masterclass in manipulation. My mother had orchestrated every detail with meticulous precision, transforming the Hayes' sprawling, but old-fashioned living room into a gilded cage. From the strategically placed floral arrangements to the carefully curated guest list, everything was designed to project an image of family harmony and impending financial rescue. I arrived wearing my most expensive suit, a power move disguised as polite formality. I played my part, smiling and nodding, allowing myself to be ushered into the charade. June, darling. My mother air kissed my cheeks, her eyes scanning me with a predatory gleam. You look wonderful. Success clearly agrees with you. Mother, I said, matching her artificial warmth. You've outdone yourself with the arrangements. Well, we had to celebrate properly, she lowered her voice conspiratorially. Everyone who matters is here. I scanned the room. Local business owners, family friends, even a reporter from the Maplewood Gazette. All carefully selected witnesses to the prodigal daughter's triumphant return. My father approached, a glass of champagne held aloft like a trophy. There's my girl! I was just telling Richard about your company's impressive growth. Richard, the bank manager. I vaguely remembered from childhood, nodded enthusiastically. Remarkable achievements, June. Your father's been sharing the numbers. Has he? I raised an eyebrow, a hint of steel entering my voice. Interesting, considering I haven't shared those numbers with him. An awkward silence fell, broken only by my father's forced laughter. Always the joker, this one. Lisa appeared at my side. squeezing my arm in silent support. "June, let me grab you a drink at the bar," she whispered. "They've been talking you up all evening. Your mom's practically glowing with maternal pride." 10 years too late, I muttered, accepting a glass of wine. "June," my father's voice boomed behind me. "Could we have a moment? In private?" I followed him to his study. The same room where he'd once told me that investing in my business education was a waste of time because no one takes women executives seriously. The familiar furniture felt like a collection of accusations. He closed the door behind us, the click echoing in the sudden quiet. "You've done well for yourself. No thanks to you. Now, June," he straightened his tie, a nervous tick. I remembered well. "Let's not dwell on the past. We're family. Family supports each other, does it?" I sat in his leather chair, the one he'd always occupied with such unwavering authority, and watched him flinch. "Like you supported me? We may have made mistakes," he began, pacing the room. "But we're proud of you now. And with your help, we could rebuild everything, make it a true family enterprise. How much do you need?" The words felt like spitting venom. He named a figure, larger than what Chelsea had mentioned, substantially larger. "That's a significant investment," I said carefully, emphasizing the word. "Investment?" He laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "June, we're your parents. This is about family, not business. Everything's business with you, Father. You taught me that." A knock at the door. My mother entered, closing it behind her. "Is everything settled? Our daughter seems to think this is a business transaction." My father said tightly, "Isn't it?" I stood up. "You haven't spoken to me in 10 years. Now you're hosting dinners, bragging about my success, telling people I'm coming home to save the family business, all without asking me first. We're your parents." My mother stepped forward, her voice rising. "We have a right to..." "To what?" I cut her off, my voice cold as ice. "My money? The success you said I'd never achieve?" I moved toward the door. "You know what's funny? If you'd just called, apologized, shown any genuine remorse, I might have helped. But this," I gestured toward the party outside, "this is manipulation." "June," my father's voice hardened, "think carefully about your next move." "Your reputation?" "My reputation?" I laughed, the sound echoing in the small room. "I built that without you. Just like I built everything else you're trying to take credit for. People are watching and they expect." My mother was livid. "They expect what you told them to expect. That's your problem, not mine." I opened the door, but I turned back one last time, a triumphant gleam in my eyes. "I'll see you at Chelsea's wedding. I'm sure you'll be proud to have your successful daughter give a speech." Their faces paled simultaneously. My father's hand gripped his champagne glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. I had wounded them and I reveled in it. They had hurt me for so long. Why couldn't they be at the receiving end for once? Back at the party, Lisa intercepted me. "You okay?" "Perfect," I said, smiling at the curious onlookers. "Just discussing some exciting family business opportunities." The reporter perked up, his pen poised over his notepad. "Any comments about the rumored family enterprise expansion?" "Oh yes," I said clearly. "I'll be making a very special announcement at the wedding, something that'll make my parents incredibly proud." I raised my voice slightly, making sure everyone within earshot could hear. "It's about family legacy, about making sure the right people benefit from success." My father, who had followed me out of the study, froze mid-step, his face contorted with a mixture of hope and dread. Lisa whispered, "What are you planning?" "Justice," I murmured back, my voice barely audible. "Served cold, with a side of karma." As I left the party, I heard my mother making excuses about my jet lag and family pressures. But I didn't care. Let them spend the next few days wondering what I was going to do. Let them taste the anxiety they'd fed me for years. The wedding was in 2 days, and I had preparations to make. They wanted their successful daughter to make a statement? I'd give them one they'd never forget. "You're doing what?" Rhett's voice crackled through my phone, the speaker barely containing his disbelief. Rhett, I need a distraction for this mess I am about to make. Distraction is the key to their own demise. This will be fun. Lisa burst into the room, waving her phone. Have you seen this? She pulled up a local news article, emblazoned with the headline, Local Success Story Returns. Family reconciliation leads to business merger. They're still pushing the narrative? I muttered, shaking my head in disbelief. Even after last night? Your mom's been calling everyone, Lisa said, sinking onto the bed. Damage control. Saying you were tired from travel, that everything's proceeding as planned. My phone buzzed. Chelsea! I steeled myself before answering. June, are you sure about tomorrow? She asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Don't worry about your wedding, I assured her. The reception speech is when everything happens. Your ceremony will be perfect. I could not let her worries get to me. It's not that, she hesitated. My mom just called Francisco's parents. She's telling everyone you're making a major investment announcement during your speech. Rhett, still on the speakerphone, laughed. They really don't know when to quit, do they? A knock at my door. Lisa opened it to find Francisco standing there, looking deeply concerned. June, he stepped into the room, his gaze searching mine. We need to talk. Your father cornered my dad at the rehearsal dinner. He's basically promised them a business partnership. Through you, of course. Of course he has, I said, closing my laptop with a snap. They're trying to force my hand by creating expectations. It's more than that, Francisco said, sinking onto the edge of the bed. They're leveraging these promises for immediate loans, using your supposed involvement as collateral. What? I stood up sharply, my anger flaring anew. That's fraud. Only if you don't follow through, Lisa pointed out, her voice calm and measured. They're betting you won't humiliate them publicly. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, my fingers flying across the screen as I dialed my lawyer, Sarah. Move forward with everything we discussed. Yes, tomorrow. And contact the SEC about those unauthorized promises. After hanging up, I turned to Francisco, my mind racing. I need a favor. Can you make sure my speech is moved to right after dinner? Before anyone leaves. He nodded, already anticipating my request. Already done. Chelsea suggested it. Perfect. The first opened my laptop again, a dangerous glint in my eyes. Now, about that charity foundation. The one you're announcing tomorrow? Lisa leaned closer, peering at the screen. How much are you actually donating? Everything they asked for, I said, a wicked smile spreading across my face. Plus interest. I had to call in a lot of favors. You are lucky you called me now and not any sooner. The papers are set in place, and I have also set in motion what you have asked me to do in the future. Rhett informed me over the phone. I showed Lisa the figures. But instead of bailing them out, it's going to help girls who've been told they're not enough. Rhett whistled through the phone. That's going to leave a mark. Francisco looked worried. They're going to lose everything. I shot him a cold look. They already lost everything that mattered, I replied, my voice devoid of emotion. They just don't know it yet. Another knock. This time it was my mother. Lisa quickly closed my laptop as she entered the room, a carefully constructed smile plastered on her face. June, darling, she said, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. We need to discuss tomorrow's announcement. She looked pointedly at my friends, privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of them, I countered, my voice flat. She pressed her lips together, her smile faltering. Fine. Your father's arranged everything. When you announce the investment, who said I'm announcing an investment? She faltered, her carefully rehearsed script dissolving into a mess of unspoken accusations. But you must. We've already told everyone. That's your problem, Mother, I said, my voice dangerously soft. Making promises about money that isn't yours. We're your parents. We have a right to expect, really? I stood up, the anger rising in my chest like a tidal wave. Where were you when I needed parents? When I was building my company from nothing? When I changed my name because I couldn't bear to carry yours? She flinched, the carefully crafted facade crumbling before my eyes. We made mistakes. No. I cut her off, my voice trembling with suppressed emotion. Mistakes are forgetting birthdays or missing school events. What you did was systematic, emotional abuse. And now you want to profit from the success I achieved despite you? You ungrateful, she caught herself, acutely aware of our audience. Think about what you're doing. Your father's reputation will be exactly what he deserves. I opened the door, gesturing for her to leave. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a speech to finish. As she passed through the doorway, I added, my voice barely a whisper, I'll be making an announcement that will change this family forever. The change starts now. Mom, you need to choose to either stand with me or against me. Your choice, not mine. After she left, Francisco let out a low whistle. That was intense. Tomorrow will be worse, Lisa warned, her eyes filled with concern. Tomorrow will be just, I corrected, my voice hard. Reopening my laptop, I addressed Rhett. Is everything set on your end? Press release ready to go the moment I finish my speech? He confirmed. Local and national media already interested. Good. I pulled up my speech document. Because tomorrow, my parents are going to learn that the daughter they never wanted grew up to be exactly who she needed to be. Someone who won't let them hurt anyone else the way they hurt me. They got away with hurting me, but I will not allow them to ever do that again. Lisa hugged me, her grip tight and reassuring. Want us to stay while you practice? No, I said, a genuine smile gracing my lips for the first time in days. I've got this. 10 years of practice, remember? As they left, I looked at the speech one last time, my heart pounding in my chest. Tomorrow, at my cousin's wedding reception, I would finally say everything I'd held back for a decade. And I would do it in a way that would make it impossible for my parents to twist the narrative. They wanted their successful daughter to make a statement. They were about to get exactly what they asked for. Chelsea's wedding was breathtaking. The church was filled with flowers, the air thick with the scent of lilies and the murmur of well-wishers. As maid of honor, I stood beside her, watching her marry Francisco with genuine joy. It was a day for them, and I would not let their toxicity taint this special moment. My parents sat in the front row, practically glowing with anticipation of my upcoming announcement. The local newspaper photographer kept his lens trained on our family, capturing every carefully orchestrated smile and gesture, exactly as they planned. At the reception, my mother worked the room like a seasoned politician, dropping hints about the exciting family business news to come. My father huddled with potential investors, making promises he clearly thought I'd be forced to keep. The champagne flowed freely, fueling the illusion of impending prosperity. Lisa squeezed my arm, her eyes filled with concern. You okay? Never better, I lied. Every part of my being wanted to burst out in anger and destroy everything my parents had worked on. I watched the servers clearing dinner plates, knowing that the moment of truth was fast approaching. Time was running out. If I did not do this right, the entirety of my plans would fail. Francisco's father approached, beaming. June, Norman's been telling me about the merger plans. A brilliant strategy, has he? I said, smiling pleasantly. How interesting. I could not let this smile go. I needed to keep things up, but it hurt every part of my being. I will not let them take the happiness of this occasion. The DJ's voice cut through the chatter. And now we'll hear from our maid of honor, June. My mother practically pushed people aside to get a better view, her camera poised, ready to capture the moment. The local reporter flipped to a fresh page in his notebook, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. I took a deep breath, steeled my nerves, and stepped up to the microphone. My hands were steady, my voice clear and resonant. The speech I'd prepared felt like a weapon, loaded and ready to fire. When Chelsea asked me to be her maid of honor, I was deeply touched. I began, my gaze sweeping across the room. Family hasn't always been straightforward for me. I paused, meeting my mother's eyes. The room quieted, the murmur of conversation fading into an expectant hush. My father's smile flickered, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. You see, I learned early that family isn't just about blood. It's about who believes in you when you have nothing, who supports you when you're told you're not enough. My mother's camera slowly lowered, her face paling beneath her carefully applied makeup. Chelsea was there when I started my company, when everyone said a woman couldn't succeed in tech. My voice faltered slightly. When my own parents. I let the words hang in the air, the silence amplifying the unspoken accusations. Well, let's just say they had different expectations. The reporter's pen scratched frantically across his notepad, capturing every nuance of my carefully crafted words. But today isn't about the past, I continued, forcing my voice to remain steady. It's about the future, about legacy. I reached into my purse and pulled out a crisp, white envelope. My parents have been telling everyone about an exciting business announcement. They're right! I do have one. My father sat up straighter, a triumphant gleam returning to his eyes. Several investors leaned forward, their expressions eager. This was the moment to take everything back. I'm announcing the creation of the Spencer Foundation for Girls in Technology, I said, my voice ringing with conviction. Funded with an initial endowment of $1 million. The room erupted in a flurry of murmurs. Gasps of shock and awe rippled through the crowd. My mother's camera clattered to the table, the sound echoing like a gunshot. This foundation will support girls who've been told they're not enough, I continued, my voice gaining strength with each word. Who've been denied opportunities because of their gender, who've had to build themselves from nothing. My father half rose from his seat, his face flushed with anger, but my mother grabbed his arm, pulling him back down. I watched their internal battle unfold before me, the years of bitterness and resentment bubbling to the surface. Every year, we'll provide full scholarships to girls who dream bigger than their circumstances, I continued, focusing my gaze on the young women in the audience, who refused to let anyone define their worth. I looked directly at my parents, my eyes blazing with defiance. Who know that real family supports you without conditions? The reporter was practically vibrating with excitement, his pen moving so fast it threatened to tear through the paper. I could have gotten away with the crime. Now it was just a matter of keeping the ruse going for a little while longer. And to launch this initiative, I'm partnering with several women-led tech firms to provide mentorship programs, I said, allowing a genuine smile to grace my lips. Because sometimes I smiled at Lisa, at Chelsea, at all the people who'd actually supported me, who had proven to be a true force in my life, and were the only reason I ever achieved anything significant. The family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I raised my glass to Chelsea and Francisco, my voice thick with emotion. Thank you for showing me what real family love looks like. The applause was thunderous, shaking the room with its force. My father stormed out of the ballroom, followed by several confused investors who had clearly been expecting a very different kind of announcement. My mother sat frozen in her seat, her carefully crafted narrative crumbling around her, the weight of her betrayal crushing her spirit. Chelsea hugged me tightly, whispering in my ear, "That was perfect, June." The reporter rushed over, his eyes gleaming with journalistic fervor. "June, can you comment on your parents' recent statements about a family business merger?" I fixed him with a steely gaze. "I'm afraid they spoke without consulting me. Any statements they've made about my involvement in their business ventures are incorrect." The investors started to become impatient. One yelled out, "You said that the loans they have been taking are not supported by any of your business funds?" "That is correct. I have been made aware that they have taken out several loans without my consent or approval, and they have indicated that I was going to cover these funds." "This is not correct," I yelled to the investors. They quickly stormed out after my father, knowing they had been duped. "It appears I need to start the process of dealing with financial crimes," I said to Chelsea. I turned to leave with a newfound sense of calm. I knew this was all going to be over soon. "Are you sure about this, June?" she asked with a worried look in her eyes. "This is what had to be done," I responded. I could not let their corruption get in the way of the joy they deserved. They needed this chance to be happy. My mother was still sitting down, lost in her own worries. I could not bring myself to look at her any further. I knew that she would come to me, and there was nothing I could do to stop her. Lisa appeared with my coat, her eyes filled with quiet pride. "Ready to go?" I nodded, drawing a final breath of defiance. Then, with a sense of grim satisfaction, I turned back to my mother, knowing that I was setting events in motion that could destroy her world. I needed to be prepared for what was about to come. I pointed a finger. "Remember when you told me that your favorite thing about me was my drive and passion for helping others and being number one? Well, here you go." I laughed, a broken laugh. "This foundation will be created to help women and girls who have been abused. I want to let them know they can do anything." "June," she shrieked, "think of what the newspapers are going to print. Think about all those women who did not have anything." I shrieked back, "Or those girls who have never had a chance because their toxic parents held them back. I will not stand back any longer." I left the building, leaving the pieces scattered. The morning after the wedding, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I had achieved victory, but not happiness. The local paper's headline read, "Tech CEO announces $1 million foundation, reveals family rift." The press quickly turned on my father, leaving him exposed to the truth. My mother had called 1,000 times, but I had ignored her pleas. "You've gone viral," Rhett announced, barging into my hotel room with coffee and his tablet. "National media's picking up the story. Daughter turns parents' manipulation into force for good." Lisa looked up from her phone. "Your mom's doing damage control on social media, saying it's all a misunderstanding. Is that why she's been calling nonstop?" I took a sip of coffee, the bitterness a welcome contrast to the sweetness of the victory. "Or because the banks are probably already calling about those loans." My phone rang again. "Francisco this time. June, you need to come to the hotel restaurant now. It's ugly." I grabbed my jacket, steeling myself for the next act in this family drama. Time to face the music. As I said, I needed to deal with it. The scene in the restaurant was exactly what I'd expected. My father, red-faced and sputtering, was surrounded by a group of angry men in expensive suits. He was the villain in his own show, but I could not let it happen again. "There she is!" he shouted as I entered, his voice laced with desperation. "Tell them this is all a misunderstanding,"